Thank you. All right, today is Wednesday, July 1st, 2020, and this is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. We'll go down our 119 status. Code freeze is in 1 week, Thursday, July 9th. So let's take a look at what we have going. There is an old PR that was open that helps clean up the correct directories in the orphanpodpath. I think it's basically removing the requirement that the volume directories have to be mount points. This is actually also, so this code path is also used by kubelet to determine if a pod is safe to delete. And that is actually currently the main outstanding test flake for the CSI mock test. So I think we'll see. I'll need to follow up with this person to see if they still have time to take a look at this. But yeah, this should hopefully fix at least one of the flakes in the CSI mock tests. Next up, I have a PR out to remove support for the beta CSI nodes in the external provisioner. So there's some cleanup work here, and I think I'm just waiting for review at this point. Talked about the test flake. Next up is storage capacity tracking. Is Patrick here? Nope. I think basically the review is in good shape. Tim did an API review and he seems okay with it. I think we've ironed out most of the nits at this point. So I think it's just mainly just waiting for review from the scheduling folks for the scheduling part, and then a final pass through the API. So this should be in good shape. And I believe Patrick has also started work on the sidecar side to do the sidecar implementation. I think he's first making some changes to the lib external provisioner. I guess, Jan, will you be able to review those?
Okay. Yes, I will review them, but I'm not sure when.
Okay. Anyway, I think he has 2 PRs out for the lib external provisioner there. All right. Generic ephemeral inline volumes. Jan, do you know the latest status on this?
Like it seems that Clayton and Tim Hockin, they both agree that this is a useful feature. However, I think Tim has issue with security. They don't want
the RBACs.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's possible to fix it with RBACs.
Yeah, so I guess it seems like until we can solve the security issue, then I think we need to put this on hold, potentially. We probably have to find some time with SIG auth or something to try to figure this out.
There's still concern on having 2 different sets of APIs. I thought initially Clayton has that. Is that clear out now, that part?
I think that's the least concern.
That's the least concern now? Okay. So maybe
like, it is still a problem, but security has more trouble.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I think the design is going to need some more discussion, I think, to iron out some of the blockers. All right. Next up is the save volume data cleanup.
No updates, I think.
Okay.
Yesterday I checked, so I will try to update, open a new PR by today, tomorrow.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see. Next up is image publishing. I think in terms of that, well, the only thing we're waiting on now is for the vanity flip, the Kubernetes domain flip. There was an action item on me to follow up with folks on the timeline for that. I still haven't done it, but I'll try to get that done this week. We'll skip over beta or Windows. Next up is volume health.
So I'm still reviewing the latest changes. Hoping to get that in soon. That's it for that. If we can get the initial one merged, then we can make more enhancements to it.
All right, sounds good. Awesome. And then we have snapshots.
Yeah, I think Karthik has been making some progress that I need to review his, because he was asking me a question earlier this morning, I haven't got a chance to look at it yet. So the move API is generally calling outside. So I need to take a look. And the E2E test, I think the test has still have some failures. So I need to check that again. So I think it's Andy who submitted a PR. So I need to.
Yeah. So I also sat down with Andy and actually we were looking through the code of how the E2E tests are doing the cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a problem in the cleanup because it's not waiting for the PV to be deleted and it's not waiting for the snapshot content to be deleted, which means that it's possible for the test to return early and then start the namespace cleanup. And if the namespace cleanup, if it tears down the driver before the driver's done finishing deleting all the stuff, then all the resources will leak.
Because especially since he's testing with the GCE, right?
Yeah.
It's not like host path, you probably couldn't tell, but
yeah, host path probably is too fast to notice, but yeah.
And another thing is, I think the entry image.
Sorry, Singh, just to stop you a second. Is this CSI test? I thought we fixed that by installing the CSI drivers in different namespace than the test pods and everything.
Did we do that for the does that also trigger for the for the snapshot tests?
Yes, it should trigger for everything.
But when do we delete the driver namespace? Because the other namespace is completely empty and just the global objects are remaining, and that needs to be cleaned up properly.
Yeah, so the snapshots, we tried to delete the test namespace before deleting the driver namespace, and that should give a chance for the defer to whatever the cleanup in the test to run the cleanup of volume snapshot content and other things.
Yeah, but apparently this is not implemented. Like nobody waits for the snapshot to disappear and for the PV to disappear.
Okay, there's a bug Christian is also looking into.
Yeah, so
sorry.
Yeah, it's possible if the driver namespace cleanup happens after the test namespace cleanup. Oh, I guess you still have the problem in that the non-namespace objects may still exist by the time you start the driver namespace cleanup. I see. Yeah. So I think that's still a problem.
So we have
Um,
finalizers, right? Do they, if you delete the names, does
Yeah.
that help? If you delete the names, does
Yeah.
that help with the finalizer? Should that be preventing those objects?
I
from
think
being
maybe
deleted?
that prevents the snapshot one, but it doesn't prevent the PV one.
Oh,
So,
okay.
basically what Andy is saying in his test runs is that like the namespace cleanup, the namespace cleanup is timing out,
Mm.
or it's taking like more than 10 minutes and then it times out. And he also noticed that a bunch of volumes and snapshots leaked in his project.
Okay.
One of the
so
things, sorry, go ahead.
I was just trying to say that the image the entry image is very old because there is a there are
Okay.
two issues related to the snapshot class because we kind of associate that when we delete the snapshot, but at this delete snapshot and we actually don't really need the class. So that was causing the leak before, and then there was one fix that was in, and we already cut the release, and then there was a second fix also for that. We have not cut the release yet. So I think that also could be causing the leaks.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Can you maybe comment on his PR and maybe suggest to update the snapshotter version?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Just-
But we don't have we have not cut one yet for the second fix. Maybe you can, I don't know if you can test this. Just use like the Canara image.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, I will just mention what are the PRs.
Okay.
What they, yeah, okay.
All right. Christian, you also had something?
Yes, even with the volume snapshot class fix that Jing is talking about, I still see about 2% of the time the volume snapshots and volume snapshot contents remain because they both have the bound finalizer added, and it's never getting removed because the other resources are cleaned up. I submitted a very small PR today to get that fix included, which cleans up the namespaces and the volume snapshots when I've tested.
So it's like you think it's some kind of race condition, then it's both are waiting for the
Yes.
other?
Yes,
Okay.
I think what happens is that we clean up the driver, we clean up the class, and the bound finalizer is added to both. The PVC finalizer is removed, but we never remove the bound finalizer because the content always exists.
But yeah, but it should go ahead and delete the content first. You delete the physical snapshot first, then the content, and then the snapshot should go that sequence unless something else was removed before this, and then it's not going to, it's kind of stuck.
I
Yeah,
guess, Christian, you mentioned the driver got torn down already?
I'm fairly certain.
Oh,
So
then that would be
Yeah, so I think we need to fix that ordering, right? Because if the
Yeah.
driver gets torn down before the snapshot gets deleted, then there's nothing that can actually delete the snapshot.
Yeah, that's a problem. You still have leaking even if you fix the finalizer temporarily, right? So
I would be very surprised if that bug still exists. I think I fixed it for all the CSI drivers. The driver gets installed in different namespace and that does not get deleted until the first, like it waits for 5 minutes and then it triggers the driver namespace delete. So if it takes longer than 5 minutes, then yeah, that's possible.
I can double check to see if the driver persists. I know the volume snapshot class is deleted, and I know the snapshot and the snapshot content have the bound finalizer. And then they're stuck waiting on the other one. The content is never cleaned up, so the bound finalizer is never removed from the snapshot itself.
yeah, it should delete the physical first and then content and then finally snapshot. It should be in that order unless it just can't delete the physical for some reason. Yeah. So yeah, so please take a look and see if it's because the driver is no longer there.
I will say that with the volume snapshot class fixes merged, it happens far less frequently. Right now, it happens about 2% of the time. Previously, I think it was in the 5 to 10%.
Okay.
This was all testing with the host path driver on AWS environments.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Let's see. Anything else with snapshots?
I think that Christian, I'm not quite sure about that change. I would like to see investigate that first because I don't think we should go modify the controller should modify the finalizer that way. It's like we are allowing some updates, some modification in the middle or something. go and remove the finalizer automatically, because what the policy is changed from retain to delete or something. I think I look at it quickly. I don't know if that's what your change is, right? Basically, you remove the finalizer when.
Yes, there's two separate PRs, and this is something that's independent of what we were just discussing.
Oh, you submit 2 PRs for in the snapshot?
Yes, one
okay.
today about 20, 30 minutes ago, and then the other one this week.
Okay, I'll take a look.
All right. Okay, so that's snapshots. Next we have volume expansion.
Yeah, so Jan reviewed my recovery from resize failure PR yesterday. I'll address his comments. I updated my pending PR, that was the add extra fields in node expansion column, that one that you see, and it works. Everything looks good. I need this PR for the controller changes for recovery from this resizing failure. So if this gets merged, and I mean, I could open a PR anyway, so I'll just in a couple of hours open the controller changes for the external resizer, and then then I have some I have to make other fixes. One was the volume in use error from the kubelet. If the kubelet receives volume in use error, it should not retry. But that we can, that's a bug fix. I think we can, it shouldn't be too hard, and we can get it after the freeze also, but I'll try to get that in before. And yeah, but I still need like yeah, Jan has already reviewed, but I need like Saad or someone else to review the recovery from resize failures. So
Okay.
I can help as well.
Awesome.
thank you.
Cool. I'll also take a look at the one you pinged me, adding the extra fields.
Yeah, I tested it with hostpath. It works, and there are tests in there. It would have been nice to test the whole flow, like that the staging target path flows into the driver via E2E, but it's difficult to test it, and yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the updates. Let's see. Next we have the CSI driver changes.
Yeah, this is still in the same position as it was Monday. It's still waiting for reviews.
Okay. It's on my radar to take a look at. I should be able to take a look today.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Does the changes that Jan was looking at for SC Linux, does that impact the CSI driver changes at all?
No, I don't believe so.
No.
Okay. All right, awesome. Any other topics that anyone wants to bring up?
I do have one. I was working on the Linux stuff, and I found out that the enhancement I wrote, it's basically wrong. I wanted to mount the volumes with the right Linux context, so we don't need to label the volumes at all. But for that, it works well on the host, but in a container, it needs some Linux files exposed from the host to the container, like etc/slinux/something and sysfs Linux. Otherwise, the mount options, they don't work. They are silently discarded by mount. So there are two options. Like we can either fix all the CSI drivers around the world to get these files from the host, which I think is quite hard nowadays because there are so many drivers around. Or like we can do the recursive labeling in kubelet the same way as in FS group.
So you only relabel it if it's different?
Yes. Exactly
Okay.
the same as FS group, like it's opt-in by default. It's done by the container runtime as it's today, or when user opts in with on-root mismatch, kubelet will check just the root of the volume and relabel the volume if the top level directory is wrong. I have implementation for that in progress. I have API review for that, and I have also the enhancement for that. I know it's pretty late in the development process. And well, the overall question is, from the CSI point of view, can we require new capabilities like from the CSI driver vendors?
What do you mean by require new capabilities?
Like they need to say if they support SL mounting with a Linux mount option. And if they do, they must like propagate the files, Linux files from the host to their containers.
I think it's reasonable to add a new CSI capability. We can't make it required, but it could be a new capability.
So there's one. Sorry, Michelle. There was one more bug that we recently discovered. There was in the CSI driver where you have to make sure that run mount directory from the host is mounted inside the container, the CSI driver container. Otherwise, if you shut down the node, then you cannot shut down the node because the netdev mount option was not propagated from the container into the mount point. It was silently getting discarded. It requires run mount directory to be mounted inside the container, and you cannot shut down node anymore or reboot the node anymore without that. So the driver basically becomes pretty hard to use, or like, so there's a use case of like certain driver plus node interaction that I think is worth defining somewhere, but I don't know if it is CSI capability or it is common something.
This is only if you use the netdev option.
Yes, yeah. If you use netdev, certain drivers require netdev. Like I think NFS also in some cases will require netdev. Actually, without that, if you tear down the if you unmount the file system after unmount the volume after unmounting the network or after removing the network, then the unmount will hang perpetually, and it will cause basically node to be not rebooted. But yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, so like we know mount in a container drops SC Linux and netdev. Like, what other mount options is going to be dropped?
Nobody knows yet. I found it out pretty late. I should have tested it earlier.
I guess I'm wondering if there's like, if it's just we need to add something to just say you need to use the mount from the host in general.
That won't help SE Linux at least. Or if the driver needs some mount helper or anything, it needs to be in the driver container. You should not copy it to the host and then use mount on the host. Like NFS at least needs mount helper. Samba needs mount helper. CFFS needs mount helper. All the that would need to be on the host, and that's not what we want. But we have CSI to containerize those.
So I guess how is the Ceph and NFS problem being solved?
Right now, we don't solve it. Like right now, we don't have SC Linux options. Like nobody uses them, so nobody noticed that they are discarded. But once we want, if we want the SC Linux options to be passed, then these drivers need to be changed. Well, all drivers around the world need to be changed.
I guess I'm wondering not so much about the SC Linux problem, but the netdev one.
Yeah, for that the deployment was fixed. The deployment YAML was fixed of the CSI.
Yeah, we have a fix
But
for Ceph, but we don't have. I don't think we have a real CSI driver for NFS, so nobody really cares.
It was fixed by mounting something from the host.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in a sense, we can say that it's not even a driver change, right? It's like a change in the way no code is changing in drivers. It's the way the driver is run.
Yeah, like it's YAML file change, but still it's something that storage vendor needs to do.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure where a good place to put it in. I mean we could maybe put it into CSI. Well, the CSI spec doesn't dictate anything about deployment, right? So maybe the closest thing we can do is just update our Kubernetes CSI docs. And I forget if we already have a best practices page or not, but maybe it could go there.
I mean,
like the netdev thing, sure, it can go there and it should go there because that's a bug. If you can't reboot your node after using a CSI driver. I'm still thinking about this SE Linux thing. Like, currently, no CSI driver supports SE Linux node options. I can fix some of them, but I think it's a quite a big ask for the CSI driver vendors to.
Yeah, so like it would have to be a new capability. It would have to be a new capability, and for drivers that don't support the capability, like we can consider your current proposal of the change policy.
I don't want to have two policies because how the user can choose. They don't care about what storage backend is there, right?
What if a driver supports the SE Linux one, then use that. If not, then fall back to the en route mismatch.
Yeah, but they have very different behavior. They do different things. Mounting always works. If it is supported, it always works. And it's always fast. But if you use en route mismatch, there is a risk. If you use the volume somewhere else and you change just one file in the volume without changing the root, then this one file is then not accessible. You must ensure that the workload, that the application does work both with the mounting and both with the en route mismatch.
Yeah, I think we can live with that. Like basically if you're gonna have two different workloads share the same volume, you need to make sure they all set their permissions correctly.
I think it's hard for the user to tell what is wrong if it gets wrong. Like, was it mounted correctly, or was some file mislabeled somewhere? There are too many things that can go wrong.
Do they not get like permission denied?
Yeah, they do, but the debugging why is hard. Because it
I
can be
mean,
wrong. It can be wrong in the CSI driver. It can be wrong in the mounting stuff. It can be wrong with the on-route mismatch stuff. What went wrong?
yeah, it is complicated, but I'm not sure if we really have a good solution here.
Well, I'm thinking about ditching the mounting because there are so many conditions to fulfill to make it working, and use just on-route mismatch and merge it with FS group. Because then
I think that seems reasonable, like as long as users set their permissions correctly, then you shouldn't hit the performance penalty of having to relabel everything every time.
Yeah. If I could force all the driver, well, not all, but at least some decent majority to support mount options, as Linux mount options, that it would be fine, but I can't do that easily. And I still need to have some workaround for those that don't implement it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think in terms of like the API review, you're trying to convince Clayton?
I'm trying. He's resisting. He wants mounting, of course, because it's that what we do. What we should do in OpenShift. Like everybody uses Linux in the world, right? Okay, I will try to talk to him.
The one thing with the on-route mismatch I was saying like is different for SE Linux is that if the container runtime is assigning the MCS labels and pod does not have a security context explicitly SE Linux security context, then on-route mismatch will not work for SE Linux volume with SE Linux. So that's something to keep in mind. So user must specify explicit security context in the pod, whereas like
yeah, but we had the same problem with mounting, like mount only when it knows the context.
Yes, but I meant to say that it's like with FS group is on route mismatch, FS group is there. If FS group is not there, then it's not needed. Recursive permission change is not needed at all. But if it is there, then on route mismatch will work. So there's no container runtime and kubelet interaction in on route mismatch. But for SLNX, there is an interaction. So it's you have to capture all these complicated scenarios in the user documents, and I hope user understands it.
Yeah, and well, I need to think about how to surface this to users. Like, you ask for on-route mismatch, but I don't know the context, so I still need to go through container runtime.
Yeah, and Saad was saying, like when I was talking to Saad, he was saying that he would like to move towards like en route mismatch as a default, so that there's no need of user specifying anything. I don't know if that'll be safe to do, but that's probably call time like another meeting. We can discuss that better.
Yeah, I would love to do that, but I think it breaks backward compatibility. The applications or some set of applications that use the same volume and they were working before, they can stop working after update. I don't have any such application. Like, this is very crazy setup, but I can imagine it can break something. Anyway, I will try to talk to Clayton. We'll see.
All right, awesome. Any other topics? All right, then we'll end for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.